Okay, we are on air.
Okay.
I don't see any attendees on here though, which is weird. 1 second.
Oh, we just got two.
Great. Hi there. Hi, everyone. Takes a little bit to see all your names come in, but welcome. As you all know, I'm Mara Jazer. I'm the membership coordinator at INM. We are talking with Al Fine, Jeff Canteri, and Estizer Smith about media insurance today. Both Al and Jeff are from G2 Insurance, which is based in the Bay Area, and Estizer is at the Democracy Fund and is working with G2 to explore media insurance options. So I am going to pass the baton on to Estizer. If you have any questions today, if you could ask them in the chat. There's also an option to raise your hand. And if you want to raise your hand during the Q&A session and you have more of a complicated question or a comment, we can turn on your basically a talk button so that you can talk to the entire group. So yeah, questions in chat and or raise your hand, either is fine. All right, I will let Estizer go.
Perfect. Thanks, Mara. So hello, everyone. Again, Estizer Smith at the Democracy Fund. If you are not familiar with me, but our work more generally, I lead all of our grant making around freedom of the press. And that includes some work we've been doing in partnership with First Look Media around potential paths forward on libel and defamation insurance. And in going down this path, we've contracted with G2 Insurance Service, who will do most of the talking, I think, today. And they have issued a survey, which I assume if you're on this webinar, you've received at this point, trying to get a sense of your insurance history so that we can get a broader scan of the field and see what's possible as far as new options or innovations goes. So I will also be monitoring the chat throughout. If you have any questions, please feel free to throw them in as Al and Jeff chat through the analysis they hope to do and why we've issued this survey, and I will pop them out to that team as we move along. So, and I will now turn it over to Al. Go for it.
Yeah, thanks. Hi, everybody. Thank you, Estizer. Thank you, Mara. Just to give you a little bit of background on this project, we were asked by Democracy Fund and First Look Media to take a look at sort of two concurrent themes. One was sort of to create consciousness raising and dissemination in terms of sort of rules of the road as it relates to how to manage a media liability situation, everything from information gathering to dissemination to sort of aftercare, if you will, in the event that there's a problem. But more directly, in terms of looking at a risk financing solution for this group of independent journalists, nonprofit journalists that tend to be involved with a variety of different advocacy and social justice related media activities. G2, just so that you know, is a Bay Area insurance brokerage and risk consulting firm. Our focus is on nonprofit institutions. We have a number of clients that are facing these types of issues, whether it's in the form of anti-SLAPP related matters or general cases where individuals are being sued for everything from discrimination and information dissemination related matters to copyright infringement and the like. So what is this project and what does it all mean? Our goal is to evaluate the receptivity of the insurance community to providing a comprehensive insurance product that would provide all of the members, including everyone that's on INN, the opportunity to buy insurance at a reasonable cost. Our focus is on trying to get the broadest protection out there in the marketplace at a reasonable cost for the group as a whole, but also for individual members. We're looking to put together a product that's going to be easy to administer and manage, that it's going to be compliant with basically any of the covenants that you might be involved with in terms of financing or the like contracts that you might have with third parties, and hopefully be enabling to your business so that you can go out and do what you do best, which is journalism on a variety of different facets. In terms of the insurance area, and again, I'm not sure of all of your individual experiences, but there are really sort of three areas to be concerned about. One is access to help. So does your insurance program provide you with access to professional attorneys that are skilled in the area of First Amendment law? Secondly, if you find yourself in a problem, typically the expenses that are incurred are primarily defense cost related expenses. And as a result, we're looking to make sure that whatever product we put together is going to be responsive to the best of its ability in terms of being able to provide you with that protection. And then last but not least, protection in the event of an indemnity demand and or other demands that might be a function of a situation that you find yourself in. So this is really our focus. The question then becomes, how do we go about doing this? What shape does this all take? How does it work? Does it make sense for your organization? And I think, our hope is that by collecting data, which we've asked for in the survey, we're going to get an understanding of the cohort that we're evaluating, get a better understanding as to the type of journalistic activities that are being undertaken, the revenues associated with each of the institutions that we're looking at, previous loss experience, if any, previous insurance buying experience, if again applicable, for the express purpose of aggregating that information into a foundation or an assessment so that we can view the buying power of the group. We realize that not everyone is going to have experience in these areas. A lot of folks are new. There are others that have been fortunate and have best practices already in their operations, so they probably haven't been subject to these types of things. But we know that given the political climate and a lot of the issues, that we're seeing more and more of these suits being filed as a way of trying to stifle journalism. So I think with that, I'd like to know if there are any questions.
So we have, oh, do you want to go ahead, Estizer? Sorry.
Sure, no problem.
Go ahead.
Okay. We do have one question that's just come up from Jeffrey. It is, what is an indemnity claim?
Okay, so typically in a lawsuit, you will be asked to pay damages. And in the event that there's restitution in the form of damages, that is typically known in the sort of insurance parlance as an indemnity-related payment. Costs that are associated with the defense of your organization is viewed as a defense cost. And that can include everything from costs to go through depositions, to evidence gathering, to pretrial work, etc. But the indemnity is typically the award that's given out.
Great. Says understood. Thank you.
Okay. So I think, in general, that is what we're trying to achieve. Once we receive the information from the cohort, which is approximately, Estizer, what, 200 members we're looking at this point?
About.
We're going to look at patterns and then evaluate the robustness of the information to help us define what an optimal insurance program may look like. While we're hoping to get an 100% response rate, the chances are that we will not. And if the data are scant in some respect, we're going to have to do some supplementary work. And again, I know this is going into the weeds, but in order to give our project credibility, we're also working with a credentialed actuary to help us trend and develop the data that are received for the purposes of creating a larger data set. Because again, our intent is to be able to go to an insurance company or companies on behalf of Democracy Fund and First Look Media and say, we would like to create an insurance product that would be essentially disseminated through Democracy Fund for the purposes of protecting individual journalists and nonprofit journalists in the United States. Just wondering if there are any questions, again, behind the motivation or the process. No.
Is there any questions? Are there any questions you want to ask of the attendees at all? They can either respond in the chat.
Sure. Just off the top of your head, does the concept that we're discussing in terms of providing both an insurance product as well as sort of rules of the road in terms of how to manage risk within your organization sound like something compelling to your organization? And if so, what features do you think would be the things that you would highlight?
So we've got 2 comments so far. One, absolutely relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Another one, I'm all for that. I'll let you know as folks come. Rosemary said that she would want to be sure that freelancers are covered.
Yeah, and I think that's an important feature of what we're trying to do, to be able to make sure that everyone that's in the chain of the organization is covered. There's a lot of emphasis being placed on, again, helping organizations with best practices as far as information gathering is concerned and information dissemination is concerned. And one of the things that's going to be useful in developing this insurance product is being able to communicate with the insurer to explain that folks who are part of this have a good understanding of how to behave as it relates to the professional aspects of their job.
And there's another question that's popped up in the Q&A. Lori Hearn would like to know if we're looking at coming up with a single policy or policies tailored to different organizations. And they also would like to be able to pick out their own lawyer and to determine whether to settle or not. Does that incorporate into the kind of framework?
Yeah, all of those things are part of what we're going to be looking at. It's still sort of early days in terms of how the program would be structured. We have internally with Democracy Fund and First Look Media talked about the possibility of putting together what I would deem an association product, which would be a sponsored product where every organization would have their own policy under the auspices of an association umbrella. We are, of course, very interested in making sure that consent to settle issues as well as choice of counsel are part of the package. Until we start having formal discussions with underwriters, it's hard for me to speculate as to where we're going to be going on that. But it is on the list of important things. And obviously we have, through First Look Media, a variety of First Amendment lawyers who are helping to shape how we should think about panel counsel and how we should think about litigation management.
Great. And Rosemary asked, so we're talking about this for 2020 or 2019. My policy renews in December, trying to get a sense as to whether I should move forward with renewal.
I think that we are probably looking at a 2019 push. Obviously, it would have been nice to have something for the first of the year. 2019, unlikely. I'm thinking, at an earliest, we're probably looking at July 1. And typically, the reason why July and January 1 are good dates for this is that, and again, this may be a bit arcane, but the way that the insurance community works, particularly as it relates to reinsurance and a variety of other aspects, those dates tend to be pivotal ones.
Not seeing any additional questions, but feel free to continue to pop things into the chat or Q&A.
Yeah, I mean, I think that really our hope is, again, to reinforce this point, is to make sure that we have a product that's good for the association or group, but is also fair for each of the individual organizations that may be buying a policy. At this point, we're not clear, and we won't be until we do the financial analysis and the trending as to what that program will look like in terms of limits and in terms of deductibles and in terms of coverage scope. But there is a rule of thumb which says that the more constrained an insurance policy is, the cheaper it is. But on the other hand, it doesn't necessarily provide you with the depth of protection that you would need should there be different types of loss scenarios. And I think we're going to be erring on the part of being more comprehensive than trying to get the cheapest price for a product that doesn't necessarily provide the breadth of protection that I believe Democracy Fund and First Look Media are looking for in terms of an association that they would like to sponsor.
I do have a question for the attendees. It's just a quick yes or no. Not having the list of those who have filled out the survey already on hand, has everyone here filled out or submitted the survey at this point, or is there anyone still kind of waiting to see if they think it makes sense or not to submit that information? We've got two folks who've said that they've filled it out.
Terrific. No, that's wonderful. We really appreciate it. And if you know others that that haven't filled out the survey, please encourage them to do so.
I saw a fourth one from Sally Deneen at Investigate West come in the Q&A too.
Oh, terrific.
Oh, so Sally, it looks like you haven't filled out the survey yet. Totally fine. Not to put you on the spot. Is there anything that we can do or to help you feel more comfortable filling out the survey, or do you have any lingering questions? This is open to anyone, I think, at this point as well.
I will say that the information is not going to be identifiable once it's assimilated into the materials that we're going to be using with underwriters and the actuaries. So we're going to take all of the data. The data are going to be part of a bigger set or group of information. So identifiable information as it relates to your organization will not be visible to any third parties.
Great, thank you. And Rosemary, it looks like you've submitted your survey before adding your loss runs. I think you can go back once the survey is submitted and upload. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It is.
Great.
So Estizer, I don't really have anything more to add.
Sure thing. We did have one more question pop up.
Perfect.
Victoria has asked, we have several types of insurance right now: directors and officers, errors and omissions, general liability and umbrella, workers' comp. And sometimes we question if we need all of this. We also have it through different carriers, which can sometimes be confusing. Is there a benefit to getting this insurance under one carrier?
In general, you do have leverage, more leverage with a carrier if you have more insurances with them. I would say, though, that you need to be careful about the creditworthiness of the insurers that you have in your insurance portfolio. That would be the most important thing, because clearly you want to make sure that those insurance companies are there should a loss occur. And in many cases, these losses may manifest themselves over a long period of time. And if the loss happens 3 or 4 or 5 years down the road, you want to make sure that the insurance that you have is still going to be functioning. This particular project, though, isn't designed to look at all of your insurances. It's really to be focused on a laser basis on the media-related exposures. So those are, in fact, your professional liability-related exposures as independent journalists.
And there was also one quick follow-up question. Do you think, from your professional experience, that they need all of those types of insurances?
I think it varies. From what the list that I heard suggests to me that all of those are probably insurances that are needed. Not necessarily everything is statutorily required. So you need to have auto insurance, for example, or you need to have workers' compensation insurance. But from my opinion, I think that all of those coverages are probably coverages that should be in a typical media organization's portfolio of coverages.
Great, thank you. Okay. Maybe we have another one. Would the insurance coverage this project is looking at be something along the lines of errors and admissions, specifically given that is a need in the media space?
Yes. It's primarily related to the media activities of the organization, which effectively is the professional liability exposure of the organization. So everything that has to do with, again, the collection of information, protecting sources, the dissemination of information, and again, the copyright exposures. Those are the coverages that would be included in the basket that we would be putting together.
Great. One more question has popped up.
Sure.
Do you think it makes sense to have stratification of coverage based on organization size? For example, does my organization with about 100,000 page views a month need the same coverage as, say, ProPublica?
No, I think that different organizations have different risk appetites. And so, again, I think it's truly a function of what's the best way of putting it? Normally, when I would talk about this, I would say it's a function of your risk tolerance and your cash flow. Because if you are concerned about volatility in your cash flow, and a lot of organizations are cash strapped, buying a lot of insurance may be the right way forward. Organizations which have greater cash flow may determine that they can retain risk, significant risk, and buy only for a potential catastrophe, thereby reducing the cost of their insurance portfolio.
Quick follow-up. So it's based more on your appetite, risk tolerance, or cash on hand than based on size and reach?
Yeah, I think so. So some organizations that are concerned about their exposures, particularly if they enter into third-party contracts with others, may be buying more insurance than they probably need from a financial perspective, but do so in order to be compliant.
Okay, and that was Rosemary, and she says, thank you for the clarification. We've had one more, another question has popped up. But for those who distribute through many news outlets, would that be covered under their policy?
Well, I think that, again, we're looking at the legal liability of the journalistic entity that would be part of the association. Hopefully, there would be some contractual relationships with the third parties, which might limit or impact the exposures to the sponsoring organization. There are best practices surrounding the use of third parties. And again, that will be part of the sort of rules of the road discussions that will take place as a companion to this. But regardless of whether you're using a third party or not, if you are in the stream of commerce, if you will need the protection.
Lori, does that get at your question? Yeah. Okay. So thank you. Okay. And we also did want to note that if anybody doesn't feel comfortable asking questions in the chat, happy to share Al's contact information or my contact information for follow-up at any point. So do not hesitate to reach out. As we wrap up, I'll show a slide that has our contact information for everybody to take down. But feel free to continue to put questions in for now. Okay.
Well, if there are no further questions, we were able to keep this meeting to half an hour, so I think we've done our part. But seriously, if there are questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to Estizer or indirectly or directly to me, and I will do my best to entertain those questions.
Great. And just give me one moment and I'll pop that slide up. Okay. So thank you all for taking the time to join us today. If you have not at this point completed the survey, please try and do so by the end of the day on November 30th. It's a week after the holiday, so if you have some time to settle back in, or if you don't have a chance to get it done before, I know end of year deadlines are tough. And once again, please don't hesitate to reach out to Al if you have any questions about the potential product or coverage. As you go through the survey, Jeff Cantieri from G2 is their director of IT and can help you if you have any technical questions, or if you wanted to go back and upload your loss runs, he could help you do that as well. And I'm Estizer Smith at Democracy Fund. I'm kind of just doing most of the coordination around this project. So if you have any questions about how we're thinking about this, our work more generally around freedom of the press, feel free to shoot me an email. I'm happy to hop on the phone or chat otherwise. Okay, and I can't see if any other questions have popped up, but Mara, do you see any?
I am looking right now. It looks like we've answered all the questions in the chat, and I'm just getting the Q&A up quick. I also need to exit full screen. I think that's it. And we'll share the recording of this with members, and I can send out another link to the survey too after this for if anyone still needs to take it. So we'll follow up shortly, either me or Estizer, with more information.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you all so much for taking the time to join us today. And if you haven't filled out the survey, please do take a minute to do so. The more information we have, the better a product we can create. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Great.